It was really cool, and, we would just be, like, hanging out in the lobby, and there would be, these musicians that I've been listening to their music for years, just there. And you have to try very hard not to be like, "Oh my god," about it, so you have to be like, "No, no, no, like, we're cool here, like, this is like an academy event." So, I think it was end of 2021, I helped engineer on a project, that later went on later that year, get nominated for a Grammy Award. And because of that, I started really thinking like, the Recording Academy might be something in reach. So I looked into it and talked to some mentors of mine who were in the academy, and they helped kind of coach me through the application process. And so I actually completed my application for the Recording Academy in 2022, in like March of 2022, maybe April of 2022. I didn't end up getting in till a year and a half later, midway through 2023. So 2024 was actually the first time I could go to the Grammys. The year I had a project nominated, engineers aren't nominees in that category, so I couldn't go. I watched the live stream. So 2024 was the first year I could go to the Grammys, so I was like, well, I have to, right? Like if I don't, that should be silly. So pretty much as soon as tickets were available, I bought tickets to go and booked my flights and hotel and everything. Just an incredible experience overall. One thing I would say that really stuck out to me, I've never even been on the West Coast before, so maybe there's a little bit of rose-colored glasses from that as well. All the events, all the things we did when we were out in LA, I was there for about a week. It was so cool to be just surrounded by people who are so serious about their craft, and their craft is like music. I feel like sometimes there can be this kind of attitude of like, oh, what do you do? I work in music. Oh, okay, that's cool. And they, people do something else, and which is totally valid. But it was one of the first times I was in a place where everywhere I went, it was like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a mixing engineer. Oh, that's so cool. I'm a songwriter. And you could have a conversation with a stranger about like how being as a songwriter, you're on the beginning of the creative process and you're actually originating the creative spark. And then like for myself as a mixing engineer, I'm trying to like rediscover that and make sure that translates. And it's just so cool to like be surrounded just everywhere you go with people who are like so deep in the entertainment industry and just so passionate about it. And that was one of the biggest things that stuck out to me about the whole trip. As far as the Grammys themselves, what I was not prepared for is it's a super long day. We left our hotel at like 11:30 in the morning and didn't get back to our hotel until, really the next morning, because there's a ceremony for the majority of the awards. There's close to 100 Grammy Awards now, which is great. There's so many really cool categories that are being recognized, but there's a ceremony for all those that's before the like televised part, and it's in a different venue. So you go to this one venue, you do this ceremony, which is kind of long. They go through like 80 Grammys, and then everyone like gets up and goes to the next venue to go to the televised part in the arena. And that goes for a while and getting in and out. And then of course, after parties, me and my friend who I went with, we were just like, we were not prepared for how long that day was. Like we hadn't eaten and we were like buying like whatever like we could get from the concessions at the arena. But it was really cool. And, we would just be like hanging out in the lobby and there would be, these musicians that I've been listening to their music for years, just there. And it's, you have to try very hard not to be like, oh my God, about it. So you have to be like, no, 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 like, we're cool here. Like, this is like an academy event. But it was super cool overall. One thing I also thought that was interesting about the whole Grammys thing, which there's a lot of buzz about, like Jay-Z's speech there. So I'm a voting member for the Academy. So I actually get to vote on 3 categories every year. And there's a lot of voting members. There's, I think tens of thousands now of voting members. It's pretty big. And like we actually vote on stuff. And so it's not as much that the Grammys are rigged as much as they're just kind of like a popularity contest, but with a pool of people who work in the industry. And so because of that, something that's really, really, really popular might not get voted on because the people who are in the industry might vote differently. So for example, the Beyonce thing. The general consensus is like, Beyonce's amazing. She's great. And she wins so many awards that like people were like, let's vote maybe not Beyonce for once. Just not even in a matter of like being anti-Beyonce as much as it's like she's got so many Grammys. Like maybe we'll use this opportunity to vote for other people. And you see that kind of thing happening, but Jay-Z's speech was kind of funny because like kind of the whole arena kind of was everyone's like looking around like, okay, it's kind of strange to go up on the Grammy stage, winning a Grammy, and then be like, Grammys is rigged. Like if the Academy came out and said like, hey, listen, like Beyonce's winning so many awards, don't vote for her, that would be terrible. That being said, I think like maybe people subconsciously, voters like when I voted, I had my 3 categories I voted in, and I went through and I just listened to all the nominees. Like I just sat down in Studio B and listened through all the nominations and just kind of said, I think this is who, and there's an element of it. Like if you're voting for prom king, there's an element of like, who did I want to see win, And I think every voter has an amount of that. And it's like, who do I want to see win? And that's who they vote for. Like, sure, you try to be, and the Academy does say like, hey, like vote upon merit. Don't just vote because like you want a certain person to win. But I think there's subconsciously a part of that. And of course, there's all the like PR leading up to the Grammys is like, consider my album. And there's certain rules they have to follow about those things. So there's like that PR game too of like who's being thought of. At the end of the day, it's not as much as it's rigged, as much as it's just kind of like a popularity contest. And, the voting members are just kind of picking who they want to see win. What was really wild, though, I have to say, was Joni Mitchell's performance at the Grammys. Her performance and just the arena went silent. Like it was the only time I think the arena was silent the whole night. Just like during her performance, like you could hear a pin drop in the arena. Brandi Carlile set it up so well. And then Joni's performance, it was a really like incredible moment. I'm so glad I got to see that. Neo performed at the after party we went to. I was not expecting that at all. We went to an after party and there was like a stage, but there was like a DJ on it. And so we just were like, oh, cool, there's a DJ. And then the DJ left and we noticed, we're like, wait a minute, there's like a band set up on stage. And then Neo came out and his band was crazy good. I was not expecting Neo to be one of like the best performances of the day, but like his band laid it down. It was so good. I don't know if they told anyone because like it didn't say it on anything for the party. And when like Neo came out, like pretty much everyone at the party was just like, what is he doing here? But it was awesome. It was great. Coming back from the Grammys, the one thing I feel like I've taken from it is I almost feel like validated in my mission of like really just taking projects to the next level. When I was out there, it was obvious. Everyone there was like, good enough is never enough. Everyone out there was like, we only do our best work all the time. And they're realistic about it. It's not like hustle culture. It's like, no, like I know what I need to do to be set up to do my best work. And I only take on projects that I can set up that way. No one out there would just like, oh, we'll just quickly knock this out and just call it a day. There was none of that. Like no one there was messing around like that. Everyone there was like, if we're going to release a song, it's going to be perfect. And coming back from the Grammys, I'm very much like, yeah, that like I need to incorporate that and remind myself of that in my workflow. Like everything I do has to be my best work because that's the level that everyone in the Recording Academy was at. In talking to them, it became very obvious just how much that was like a given in their process. And it's like, yeah, okay, I need to do that. And so that's the biggest thing I think I'm carrying forward is just, that attention to detail and that attention to excellence, I guess is what I would say.